This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, real MVPs? Ricky Widmer here, along with the Mark Weber.
Dummies.
And we are back for another edition of the Onside Kick right here on Most Valuable Podcast. And Mark, it is, to me, the best week of the entire year because we have gone through every single preview. We took our week off last week, kind of talked about some Baker Mayfield, some dark horses. We went through our top 10 in our preseason mock draft. But this is the week that everyone has been waiting for. The week where we make our hold us to them predictions. And then someone gets injured this week because I gave someone the kiss of death. And then we have to revise our predictions next week.
I mean, I already did some revisions from some of the injuries that have happened. You know, I was talking about your team, the Vikings, and how I was like, well, they were pretty sure they, but I don't know. Had a lot of injuries.
Well, I mean, was it 2 years ago? Was it last year or 2 years ago? It was 2 years ago.
Because it was Dak Prescott's rookie year.
Because we did our hold us to him predictions. Then Tony Romo got injured. And Teddy Bridgewater got injured. And It was like, great, we've got to do them again. And we redid our playoff predictions. And that was the time where I believe I had the Jags missing the playoffs, then making the playoffs, and they did not make the playoffs
in real life
that year. I was a year early with that Jags prediction. But how we do it, really, before we get into how we do it, let's get through some housekeeping here. Number one, if you want to help support the channel, make sure to check out patreon.com/Most Valuable Podcast. That link down below in the description. You can help support the channel, and if you're at the $10 tier, you get to join the podcast each month, any podcast MVP that you want, and get to talk about the topic of your choosing. You can also buy yourself an MVP t-shirt. That store down below in the description as well. You can also find the store at mostvaluablepodcasts.com where you can get your MVP each and every day. And then last but not least, make sure, even if you're on iTunes, or if you're on YouTube is what I mean to say, go over to iTunes, go over to Apple Podcasts. Make sure to give the podcast a 5-star rating and let us know why you like listening to the podcast each and every week. But now, if you're new, how we do these predictions is we still keep it in the 3-segment kind of fashion that we're used to. We go through our AFC, look at each division, give our predictions for each, give our thoughts for each. Then we do the NFC. Then our last kind of segment will be us going through our playoffs, predicting it all the way to the Super Bowl. Mark will predict a Super Bowl winner. I will give the kiss of death to a team that'll probably have injuries next week. And then we're adding something new at the very end of the podcast. We're going to give our personal top 10 draft order for what we think it'll be based off our individual records. We're going to do that
at the end?
Very end.
Because they're going to know what it is already based off of the first two.
They can figure it out, but if they want the cool graphic and they want to figure it out, we might do it right before the playoffs. It'll be in that 3rd segment, though. So we'll do it right before the playoffs. How about that? To start off the 3rd segment.
Sure. Still doesn't change the fact that they can do the math.
They can do the math on their own, but we'll do it to start the 3rd segment. So
play spoiler in the comment section if you really want to.
You can if you want to, but Mark, we are going to go through the AFC. We're going to start with the AFC North. We'll start with you for the North. Give us your prediction. Run down these teams.
You want me to go from best to worst or worst to best?
Doesn't matter. They're all 4 are going to be up on the screen.
All right, I'm going worst to best. So we're going to have the worst, and it's actually a tie for worst, kind of. I mean, ties don't exist in this, obviously, but they had the same record. Both at 7-9. First, it's the Browns. Then it's the Bengals.
You have the Browns at 7-9?
I do.
Ooh,
I do. But here's the thing. Going into this, if you have watched any of our stuff, you know I do not like Hugh Jackson. Mm-hmm. I'm done with him. I don't want anything to do with him. But I kind of divorced myself from that thought going into this. I said I have to have a competent coach mentality going into this. Even though I do not think they have a competent coach. Just like for this, when we eventually get to the Houston Texans, I said, don't think about injuries. Just think about the team. So anyways, we got the Browns, we got the Bengals both at 7-9. Then we had the Pittsburgh Steelers at 10-6 and the Baltimore Ravens. You guys wanted to hear what I thought about the Ravens, and that's because you know I'm liking them right now. 11-5, Baltimore Ravens winning the division.
So with mine, I will do the same. Start worst to first. The last team in the North at 3-13 will be the Cincinnati Bengals. They're going to be the worst team in the North this year. That means the Browns, they're actually number 3 in the division, but not by much. They're still 2-4 like the Bengals in the division, but they finish 4-12 on the year. Ravens will be second in this division, 8-8, sitting there at 500, and winning the division yet again. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the Killer Bees, whatever you want to call them, they will be at 12-4, winning the AFC North. You kind of gave a little bit about the Browns. What are you thinking, just kind of final thoughts after we've done our previews, after we've given these predictions about the AFC North?
I think this is one where pretty much everybody should be kind of happy. Mm-hmm. You got two teams that are right in the playoff hunt. Obviously, the Ravens win the division they're in. Mm-hmm. But even Bengals fans, their team has been better this year, according to my thoughts. Browns are going to be much better this year. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're a Browns fan, you might be saying, well, I guess we're stuck with this coach now. But I think everybody is having something to be happy about.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's like the interesting thing is I think most people are in agreement that the Steelers are probably going to win the division this year.
Except for me.
And that's why I said mostly everyone. The Steelers should win the division in my mind. The Ravens are going to be interesting because to me, they're going to be a fringe playoff team where they could be 8-8, make the playoffs. They could be 9-7, make the playoffs, or they could be 10-6 and make the playoffs, or they could be 8-8, 9-7, and not make the playoffs. Like that's where I think they are this year. Kind of very much the same as it was last year, where they were one win short from being a playoff team, and because the Bengals beat them, the Bills got into the playoffs for the first time in forever. To me, this division, the thing, though, that I'm excited about is the bottom of this division. And it's the Browns and the Bengals to see who is going to be last place. Will it be the Browns like it's been forever, or are the Bengals destined to be the Bungles, and will they finally fire Marvin Lewis after, let's say they do go 3-13? Will they finally get rid of him? Will the Browns finish with a worse record? Will they finally fire Hugh Jackson? That, to me, is going to be a more interesting race to see who's not last in this division than it is the two teams that'll be at the top in the Ravens and the Steelers.
Yeah, and you have two teams that are trying to essentially get out of a funk. Mm-hmm. Get out of what they were stuck before.
Well, let's move on now, going to the AFC South. I'll give mine first for this one as we'll alternate. I'll do the same thing, worst to first. Finishing last place in this division, it's kind of not last because really 2 games separate the 2 through 4 teams in this division, but finishing last in the South at 7-9, I got the Tennessee Titans. Then in third place, I've got the 8-8 Texans, the 9-7 Colts being the second place team, and then running away with this division, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars at 12-4.
This is an interesting one for me. This was probably, I'm just doing a quick little scan. Mm-hmm. This is probably my toughest division, with maybe one exception.
It's going to be the closest division, that's no doubt. In my mind, it's going to be one of the closest, if not the closest division in the AFC.
And it's one of those ones where if I just change one of these games, mm-hmm. it completely changes everything.
Yep.
So first of all, we got the Colts at 7-9. Even with Andrew Luck being back, that team still has a lot of holes and things to fix. He can only win so many games on his own. Deshaun Watson, even though he's a great quarterback, I really hope he's healthy. But the Texans, 8-8, even with that great defense, even with a lot of improvement. And I'm going to say something interesting about them in just a moment. But the Tennessee Titans at 9-7, then 10-6, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who 2 things I got to say in this division.
You almost had them not win this division.
That was the first thing I was going to have. I almost had them out of the playoffs.
At 9-7.
At 9-7, because that last game, it is week 17, and this is where things get crazy. And week 17,
I have them losing that game.
The way I have everything set up, the Jaguars are winning that game.
Okay.
But because they had to. If they lost that game, they are 9-7 out of the playoffs. Tennessee Titans, which are sitting at 9-7 in my little rankings here, they get skipped if the Texans beat the Jaguars and the Texans win that division at 9-7.
Well, and I mean, for me, the interesting thing we'll start with the Jaguars because they're the consensus where most people are picking them to win the division. In my mind, I have them 12-4, but I'll be completely honest. I have them beating the Patriots week 2. I have them beating the Steelers week 11. And the only reason I have that happening for sure in the regular season is they're both in Jacksonville. If they were going to Foxborough, I might switch that to the Patriots. I know that the Patriots have the GOAT and Tom Brady's going to make it a game, and I know that the Steelers have the killer bees, but going to Jacksonville would be a lot different than the Jaguars going to Heinz Field, going to Foxborough.
Yeah.
But the Jaguars proved last year we can go to those two places and definitely beat the Steelers and almost beat the Patriots if we didn't get screwed on a pass interference call. I'm still not going to let that call go because the Jaguars should have won that game. Mm-hmm. If I switch those, so they're a top 4 team in my mind at 12-4. If I flip those games, they still win the division at 10-6, but they're a 10-6 team that'll probably be a for sure 3 or 4 seed. So for me, for them, that's the 2 most important games. Win those games, and you'll be fine. Maybe a 12-4 team. If you lose, you could be 10-6, and if you screw up somewhere else, you could be 9-7 this year.
I think that when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars, to me, I mean, they're still a great team. They have an amazing defense. They have a great running back, but they lost receiving weapons, which I know is not that big of a deal because, I mean, you had injury issues there before, but you still don't have them. You're still trying to find your best wide receivers a little bit. People are going to know about Leonard Fournette this year. They should have known about him last year, but now they really are going to know about him. And I just don't trust Blake Bortles. I mean, I know we had a good year out of him, but was it that good? I mean, it was basically average at best, and he turned it on at the end of the playoffs. He almost had very similar to like a Joe Flacco, where he can turn it on if he gets to the playoffs. That's what I'm kind of wondering about him. Is it that? Is it an Eli Manning boom or bust of, yeah, it might go really badly, but hey, it might go really well too. I just have too many question marks on this team to be able to say for sure they're going to be fantastic.
To me, the thing that kind of solidified my 12-4 was, and I know it's preseason, but watching them play the Vikings, because in that game the starters did play for a significant amount of time. And that defense did very well against Kirk Cousins and the first stringers. Yeah. And Blake Bortles and that team, especially with Leonard Fournette, was able to, after a fumble by Latavius Murray, was able to take it down and score, I think it was like a 60, 70-some yard drive, and take it down and score and punch it into the end zone. To me, the most interesting part of this division is every other team. Because the Colts, I think that it'll be interesting because I think that Andrew Luck, they were a bad team last year, but I think with Andrew Luck, just having Andrew Luck alone, just give them 8 wins. They're 8-8. And can the rest of this team help Andrew Luck win more than 8 games? The Texans will be interesting because Deshaun Watson coming back, Colin Cowherd is calling him the Michael Jordan to Mitch Trubisky's Sam Bowie, is what he said today on his show. But with the Texans also, are they going to be injured this year? Is the injury bug going to bite them like it did last year? And then the Titans. Yeah, they were a playoff team last year. Yeah, they went into KC and won. But this is a team, new head coach. How's Mike Vrabel going to be? This team could be a team that takes a step back. Not a huge one, but takes a step back and might finish last in this division by like a game or two because the Texans and Colts are above them.
My ideal situation is that the Texans would be where the Titans are and the Titans would be where the Texans are. Just switch those two teams.
You mean based off last year's? Like the Texans are in the playoffs, the Titans are out of the playoffs.
I'm saying right now, I'm not revealing who my playoff teams are.
No. I'm saying from last year's standings.
No, I'm saying right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying I would rather have the Texans number 2 in this division.
Okay.
The Titans number 3.
Okay.
But when I go game for game, that's not how it really worked out. Which is fine. And that's not a knock on the Titans necessarily. It's the new coaches. It's the figuring out this new offense. But I am hanging on to the fact that they were really kind of held down, anchored down by that poor coaching, poor play calling, bad offense that they were stuck with. And I'm going to sit here and say I will believe that there's going to be more out of Mariota. You know, there's going to be more out of this entire offense. I'm going to believe it right now, and I'm willing to be proven wrong. I don't I prefer not to be proven wrong, but I'm going to believe that this team will be better offensively.
And the thing I find absolutely hilarious about our standings in this is both of us have 9-7, 8-8, 7-9 for 2 through 3. The only difference is me and you switched the Colts and the and the Titans, where you have the Colts last place in this division. Where is it something new coach, or is it just you know what? Andrew Luck doesn't have a full team around him.
I mean, it's all of it. It's new coach. Andrew Luck needs more. He's going to win games, but I don't think he can do all of it completely on his own. And there's rust to shake off. There's learning new stuff, learning new players. I mean, he's walking onto this team and saying, "Who are you? Who are you?" You know, to all these different guys, because it's been a while.
He's a lot more polite than that. He at least introduces himself, because he's the kind of guy that even as a defensive player, when you hit him, good hit, number 52.
Yeah. My hope is that he walks up to somebody who was on the team and goes, "Hi, my name's Andrew Luck. Nice to meet you."
I know Andrew.
One of my favorite interviews from radio days that we were a part of was Amy Poehler talking about how it was actually Adam Scott talking about how Amy Poehler does that to people on Parks and Rec. She would walk up to people that, like, she works with every day and introduce herself every day to them. Like, "Hi, I'm Amy Poehler. Nice to meet you."
Just to be annoying, or like?
Oh yeah, just to be annoying, of like, you know, pretending like I'm too good for you. I don't know who you are.
I don't know your name. What? Let's move on. AFC East. You give yours. You started off.
All right. Well, AFC East. You guys aren't gonna like me on this one. And a couple of these teams, people were like, "But you said we could be better." Yeah, but now I've made my picks.
Better.
Yeah, now I've made my official picks, and this is what they are. Starting from the bottom, and then we'll get here. At the bottom is the New York Football Jets at 3-13. People get mad at us sometimes when we call them that. At also 3-13.
Mainly Giant fans get mad at us for that.
At also 3-13, it is the Buffalo Bills. And then at 4-12, the Miami Football Dolphins. And finally, we get to...
Just do it the whole podcast.
Yeah.
Just do it for every team.
They're all football teams. And then finally at 12-4, which is very different than everybody else in this division, is the New England Football Patriots.
It's not that much. There's only one main difference from mine to yours, and let's see if you guys can figure it out. At the bottom, I've got the Jets, 4-12, 2-4 in the division. Then the Bills, 4-12, 2-4 in the division. Then the Dolphins, 7-9.
Oh, good for the Dolphins.
And then the Patriots at 12-4. The only difference is I have a better record for the Dolphins than you do. You're lower on the Dolphins.
Well, you got a better record for all three of those teams than I do.
Yeah, but like
a much better record for the Dolphins.
The Bills and Jets are only one game, but we both have them as the same ones.
Yeah.
We're going to get into them because they're the rookies, but what is in your mind saying that the Dolphins will be a 4-12 team, even with the return of Ryan Tannehill coming back, with that backfield of Kenyon Drake as the starter, and now Frank Gore as the guy that people probably have to handcuff to Drake in fantasy and who might vulture some touchdowns?
My thing for the Dolphins is, one, that they play good teams. Besides the division.
This entire division has a brutal schedule.
Yeah. And that's the tough thing. When they're playing the NFC North, they're not beating anybody in the NFC North.
Yeah.
Including the Bears and Lions, if you're one of those people that don't like the Lions. So they're playing all of those teams. They have to play their division, which, even though, yes, I'm low on these division, but they're splitting with teams like the Bills. They're splitting with teams like the Jets as well.
Well, you have to play the NFC North. You have to play the AFC South,
which you guys we just went through that. That's a division I like as well.
And you have to play your own division. Like, those are the three main divisions that they have to go up against.
You're not going to beat the Texans that I like. You're not going to beat the Titans that I like. You're not beating Andrew Luck. Actually, the Dolphins I do have beating Andrew Luck.
I do, just because they're coming off of the bye week.
Same thing.
They're going to be well rested.
Here. Yeah, it's coming off of the bye. But it's just one of those type of things where, now the flip side is, people are going to get mad at me for doing this. I actually had them get swept by the Bills. I had the Bills beat the Dolphins twice.
I did not. I had them, they won 2 games in the division, and the team I had them get swept by is the Jets? No. No, I had them get swept. You're right. I had them get swept by the Bills too.
I think these two
Unless
teams
I'm looking
match
at
up.
yours. I'm looking at yours.
I think those two teams match up fairly well to each other. And obviously, Ryan Tannehill, I think, is a much better quarterback than Josh Allen.
There we go. That looks a lot better. I was looking at yours and I was like, wait, I actually have the Colts winning, so I don't. I have them 3-3 in the division, so I have them splitting with I have them beating the Bills twice? No, I have them splitting with everyone. So 3-3 across the board.
You know, even though I don't dislike Tannehill, I like Gase as well. And I do think that they had kind of a sneaky offseason. But when you just look at the schedule, I don't think it's really going to translate into wins. And that's unfortunate because, like I said, I do like a lot of the things that the Dolphins did. I still don't understand the Jay trade from last year, but that's besides the point. I like a lot of things that they did, but this schedule is just too difficult. You're playing so many good teams that I'm a fan of to where 4 or 5 wins, I think that's kind of fine. I think that's all right. I mean, you're not happy about it, but I think that's pretty much where you would be.
The thing I want to ask you is about the rookies in this division. So we've got Josh Allen, who's probably going to start because of an injury to A.J. McCarron.
What was he called by Jalen Ramsey? Trash?
Trash.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco's also, he sucks.
He sucks, but I have him.
Or no, that was Matt Ryan, he sucks. I think Joe Flacco was overrated. Or vice versa. No, Matt Stafford was overrated, I think it was.
I don't remember.
I know that for sure he said Kirk Cousins, he's good.
Comment section, everybody.
He's good.
Give it to us.
But we've got Josh Allen. He's going to start for the Bills, presumably with the A.J. McCarron injury. It looks like Sam Darnold, people were, after the first preseason game, Sam Darnold's got the job in the bag. Then the second preseason game happens, and everyone goes, did he lose the starting job? He's most likely going to be the starter of this team. Like the GM or owner came out, I think it was the owner, that basically was praised Sam Darnold and then said, hey, we're open for business on Teddy Bridgewater, whoever wants to trade for him.
Yeah.
Which rookie do you think, obviously we both have them at the same record. I have 4 wins for both of them. You have 3 wins for both of them. But which one do you think plays better with this tough schedule where they're at?
Yeah, I think to remember for people who are Darnold fans or who are Josh Allen fans is that even though...
Because Josh Allen in these preseason games looks better than he did in college already with just better coaches than he had at Wyoming.
And the thing to remember, though, is that a rookie can have a good year and still have the team be bad.
Yeah.
And these teams were pretty high up in the draft last year, probably for a reason. I mean, the Bills had to kind of work their way up into to get him, but
because they
still
were a playoff team.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tyrod.
Yeah, Tyrod.
Tyrod Taylor.
I honestly have never heard anyone say Tyrod before, but apparently that's how it's pronounced. He just didn't correct anybody. Anyways, it's just one of those things where they can still have good years and be bad. Now, I'm more in line of believing Jalen Ramsey when he says that Josh Allen is trash. That might be the most blatant I've been about it on one of these podcasts. I do not have any faith in Josh Allen. I think he's a cannon arm that's going to throw a lot of interceptions and have a very low completion percentage because he likes to overshoot. He has accuracy issues. Darnold, I like. I like Darnold. And I think he's going to have a good year, but it comes down to the fact that I don't think that the Jets are going to be very good. I could maybe see where a couple of these games could get flipped. I currently have them losing to the Browns. They could beat the Browns. That's a toss-up game for me. I have them losing to the Lions. That's not a toss-up game because I like the Lions enough, but sure, it's a harder one. So I can see them getting 1 or 2 more wins possibly, but I just think that despite Darnold doing well and still having rookie moments, the team's just not going to be very good.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I don't think either of them are going to be trashed where it's like, wow, this guy's a bust. But I mean, I don't think it's going to be win-wise a very positive year for either Allen or Sam Darnold, and our teams are probably going to be in the top 10 when I give my draft order at the end of these two segments before we get into the playoffs. But the last division we'll look at for the AFC West, I'll start it off at the bottom at 5-11, the Oakland Raiders in John Gruden's first season. Then the Chiefs in third place, taking a step back. They're 7-9 this year for myself. Then the Chargers, I had them at 10-6 at one point, but because of injuries, I have now backtracked. I think I had them 11 wins at one point, then 10 wins at one point. Now, because of all the injuries they've already had, 9 wins is where I have them, second in the West. And then the Broncos, who I've already backtracked on, where I had them at 12 wins. Now I have them at 10 wins, but still winning the division in the AFC West, the Denver Broncos.
Interesting. So I've done this 3 times now, which I think is
just
interesting.
The West.
Yeah, but I've done this 3 times now, which I think is interesting, that I've had the bottom 2 teams share the same record. So, interesting things going on. Anyways, at the bottom, Oakland Raiders at 6-10. Sharing 6-10 is the Kansas City Chiefs. Then it's the Denver Broncos at 7-9. Not that much better, but better. And then, because I got to do it, it's the Chargers, the LA Chargers. I'm bolting up,
baby.
That's what I was trying to remember what they do. It's 10-6 for the Chargers.
You got claw up on the NFC, bolt up in the NFC,
exactly,
or AFC.
And it comes down to, despite the injuries, I still like the Chargers. I still like what they have defensively with that great pass rush. They don't really have. They've had too many injuries on.
Especially the secondary.
Yeah, I was going to say with the defensive backs, which is causing kind of a hesitation there. But
good thing, though, today in practice, I guess they were saying that Derwin James was getting time with the first string.
Good.
His first play picked Phillip Rivers off for a pick 6.
That's what I like.
So, I mean, there's positive back there. But, the thing that surprises me about your standings is 2 things. First off, the Chiefs. They're 6-10. I mean, I'm not much further.
You're not
7-9, But I'm sitting there at 6-10. I'm like, oh, they're not going to have a double-digit loss season, are they? And the thing I find a little confusing, maybe because I feel like the Chargers and Broncos are going to have winning records, but you have every single team except for the Chargers with a losing record in this division.
Yeah. Why not?
Well, I'm just
why not? Here's the thing. Okay,
I was waiting for you to go and elaborate on it. Mark's just like, why not?
Yeah, I'm just like I don't. See
I do what I want. I do what I want.
The Raiders. First of all, let's start with the Raiders really fast. I think they'll be better than I maybe have made them seem when we've talked about John Gruden. How I don't believe in the John Gruden, but I think this first year will be all right. 6-10, I don't know if you would define that as all right, but good enough to not get chudded.
He's making this roster way too old.
But that's not a thing that hurts this year. It's a thing that hurts next year.
I mean, for this year, I don't think the chemistry is going to be. He's also showing them tape from 1970. They're going to have a ton of helmet penalties.
I just want him to be like, and when you see this guy out there, he retired 20 years ago.
They're going to have a ton of helmet penalties with how
the entire league's going to have a ton of helmet penalties.
With how they're watching guys tackle if you're showing them film from the 70s.
This helmet thing is going to be interesting. Then
you heard what Richard Sherman said.
Yeah.
Basically how it was idiotic.
For once, Richard Sherman said something. I'm like, I don't mind that you said that. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs also at 6-10. For me, I do like Mahomes enough, and I do like Andy Reid.
I mean, he was looking good. Did you see that pass he had against the Falcons in the preseason, man?
I don't really care that much about the preseason.
He freaking slinged it, man.
Sure. He's got a cannon. There's no doubt about that. There's good pieces, but it's a little bit new on the offensive side of the ball. Can the new offensive coordinator, be good as the old offensive coordinator, Matt Nagy? But then it's also that they're playing hard teams as well.
No, they are.
They're going to have to play the NFC West. They're going to have to play their own division, which is difficult. And, they're going to be playing the Patriots in addition to the AFC North. They have some tough ones. It's just difficult in that case. Now, I do have them getting some wins on some teams that are also good. But, when I really like some teams like the Ravens and the Steelers, those are losses to me.
The thing I find funny is you mention all the divisions, which are tough divisions, and then you go, oh, let's take a look at the 2 games that are not there, those divisions.
Yeah.
The Jaguars and the Patriots. Fuck. Right. That's what you look at too. It's not only did we screw your not only do you have to play tough divisions, The two games that are just random opponents from anywhere, yeah, you're playing probably the 1 and 2 or the 1 and 3
teams that easily
in the conference.
could be the AFC Conference Championship.
Exactly. The two teams from the Conference Championship a year ago.
Now, for me, when it comes to the Broncos, this is what I got for the Broncos is I just don't really believe that much in Case Keenum outside of Pat Shurmur's offense.
That was a rough first preseason game, and I almost right away was like, oh, I'm going to take away some losses. But then I'm like, oh, no, don't overreact.
You know who I
it's
believe
preseason.
in, though?
Paxton Lynch.
No, Swag Kelly.
Okay.
I believe in the swag.
The swag man.
I'm not going to lie, though. Watching that Bears game, and I know that he's playing lesser talent.
Yeah.
And by the way, Case Keenum,
Kelly.
all of a sudden, Case Keenum looking good, and I'm like, man, Case, okay, I believe. Oh, wait a minute. Who are any of these defensive players right now for the Bears? Oh, it's because the second strings are in there. Anyways.
Another thing that threw it off is in that first game, it's like, Bradley Chubb looked like a rookie. He won't look like a rookie at the end of the year, but will he at the beginning of the year?
He started to turn it on a few times against the Bears. But anyways.
But it's the Bears. It wasn't
Bears have a decent offensive line.
It wasn't the Minnesota Vikings who are probably going to win that division.
But Minnesota, if anything, the Minnesota Vikings have a worse offensive line than the Bears
but
do.
We got a really good team. That's what I'm getting at.
But you're talking about a pass rusher, Ricky.
Should be able to own a weaker offensive line then, Mark.
He should.
You're wearing that Viking purple today. I like it, too.
I am, and some blue for the Chargers. I got a lot of good things going on. Actually, their blue's a little darker.
That's Titan blue.
Yeah. Which I got them in the playoffs, so whatever. That's a spoiler. Anyways, I like the defense a lot. I think they're good, but it comes down to those two things of Case Keenum. I don't really necessarily believe in him, and I don't know, even though I said I believe in Swag Kelly, I don't know how realistic that actually is.
No, Case Keenum's going to be the starter all year.
So, like, Case Keenum's going to be out there to where even if he's just doing okay to bad, he's still going to be out there. And maybe they'll just cut Paxton Lynch. I think they should.
No, they will.
I liked Royce Freeman. I like what I saw out of him.
I can't wait for him to do special things.
It just seems like it's going to be running back by committee.
Which isn't bad for a team. For fantasy, it's horrible, but
it's not bad for a team, but it's the kind of thing where I'm like, I kind of feel like that's holding Royce Freeman back.
It's only his rookie year.
It is, but I think that he could kind of go out there and dominate if they let him.
Maybe he wins the job later in the year. Maybe they kind of move it on over, kind of like with I'll say the Chiefs were like that, where the year before Kareem Hunt, it was very much Jamal Charles goes down. They're running back by committee, where it's like Charmander West is over here, and I'm messing with his name, West or something is over here, and it's kind of like, they've got Niall Davis is in the mix, and it's like they're using all these different backs, and we're thinking coming into last year, it's going to be the same thing. Kareem Hunt can actually ball out, and it was his job for the rest.
Yeah.
Maybe Royce Freeman does that this year. Not to that extent day one, but eventually there might be a game where it's like, you know what, screw it. He's our starter. We're going to go with him.
I hope so for his sake. I mean, for me, the Broncos are this. Really good defense. The offense is just going to lag behind. And that's why, for me, they become a 7-9 team.
Any final thoughts on the West? What we will do is we will wait to give our 1 through 6 until we do the playoffs at the end. So any final thoughts on the AFC that we did not hit division by division?
No, not necessarily. I think I'm pretty happy.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below in the comment section about our AFC predictions. Also, give us yours. Who do you have in each of these divisions? Who do you think will make the playoffs from the AFC? Who are we too high on? Who are we too low on? Let us know down below in the comment section.